Hello, everyone, and welcome to Microsoft Ignite. My name is Rukma, and I've been working on incubating a really exciting capability that I'm so pleased to share with all of you today. At RSA Conference in February 2020, we announced a strategic partnership with Terranova Security to provide world-class security training to all of your end users. Through this partnership, we hope to address one of our customers' most important risk factors, phishing, driving end user risky behaviors. Today, our attack simulation training capability goes into public preview within Microsoft Defender for Office 365, empowering all of you to detect, assess, and remediate phishing risk across your organizations. I will introduce attack simulation training and do a quick demo of some of our public preview capabilities before welcoming Lise Lapointe, the CEO of Terranova Security, to demonstrate how their training really moves the needle on risky user behavior. Users falling prey to phishing is one of the most common impactful risks facing our customers today. While good technology can stop a majority of attacks before they even reach your user's inbox, attackers are getting ever more sophisticated. They've gone from just mass market phishing to targeting specific groups and users, which is called spear phishing, and then super targeted whaling campaigns aimed at just one or two C-level contacts. Similarly, their arsenal of payloads and lures has also vastly increased, going from credential harvesting and an attachment or link in attachment to malware. They are now going ahead to app consent grants and business email compromise. Business email compromise is particularly interesting. It doesn't contain any malicious tech content, but in true social engineering fashion, a communication is sent from a seemingly appropriate contact and asks for updating bank routing number, for example. The user gives it, and boom, your bad actor has the bank info. The good news in all of this is that an effective simulation and training program can help you reduce phish susceptibility by up to 40%. But what does a good simulation and training program even mean, really? As we talked to our customers in the course of building this product, we learned that designing and deploying an effective phish simulation and training program poses challenges pretty much at every level. CISOs need an easy to digest view of phishing risk across their organization. They need risk ratings for high value targets like CEOs and CFOs, and a breakdown of both likelihood and impact of compromise across their org. To make strategic investment decisions for the training budget, they must evaluate ROI or return on investment for different programs. Self-reported or completion metrics don't really give you very much insight into behavior change and risk reduction. CISOs don't trust these metrics to accurately capture the improvements made by a training program and can't really rest assured that employee behavior is changing. On the side of the employee or information worker, they often view training as cumbersome and detracting from productivity. When an information worker is compromised in a simulation, they find the training attached to be very punitive and are often so scared that they navigate away from the training and pretend nothing happened, making the entire simulation exercise pretty pointless. Some of them also find training to be pretty boring or generic. When training is not targeted by susceptibility level and behavior and geography and industry, it becomes very difficult to level match. Similarly, they also sometimes feel that the simulations they're being subjected to are out of context and don't really make sense for their function or industry or role. SecOps folks have another set of challenges. There's a lack of guidance and time when it comes to things like user selection, selecting the payload, creating and launching a simulation, cleanup, monitoring, and reporting. So, in response to all of these, attack simulation training provides you with intelligent simulations to detect phishing susceptibility and risk across your organization, actionable insights to quantify social engineering risk, and hyper-targeted training from Terranova Security to reinforce your human firewall and improve security posture. Attack simulation training is an intelligent social engineering risk management tool. It uses real phish and hyper-targeted training to train your employees. It measures behavior change and automates design and deployment of an integrated security awareness training program. Your people are your perimeter. Empower your employees to defend against the latest threats and active phishing exploits with the real simulations. Gain visibility over your organizational risk, baseline against predicted compromise rates, and prioritize your remediation actions by tailoring training to behavior. I am very excited today to announce the public preview launch of attack simulation training in Microsoft Defender for Office 365. Let's go into a quick video to introduce you to our solution.
Phishing attacks continue to plague customers all around the world. How educated and prepared are your users when it comes to spotting malicious links and attachments? To know the answer to that question, you need to be able to detect vulnerabilities with targeted simulations that use real lures. Quantify your risk across employees and threat vectors, and implement a hyper-targeted training program designed to reinforce your human firewall. Introducing Attack Simulation Training. Built into Microsoft Defender for Office 365. Run intelligent simulations that harvest actual attacks and phish your users with automated context-aware lures. Track your organization's progress against a baseline compromise rate and automate repeat offender simulations using the user susceptibility score. Microsoft has partnered with Terranova Security to create a huge library of human-centric training content catered to diverse learning styles, localized in over 12 languages, and accessible to the highest standards. Depending on user susceptibility and their responses to the simulator, send specific training materials to help the user understand how to better spot threats and react accordingly. Often the security administrators tasked with deploying the training program have no experience in learning and development and no way to measure behavioral impact. With this combination of robust training solutions and deep visibility into your users' compromise rates, you can better defend against the real phishing threats that target your organization. Attack simulation training is now in public preview within Microsoft Defender for Office 365. Activate it today and take action to detect, assess, and remediate phishing risk across your organization.
All right, now that we understand how the capability works, let's just drill a little bit deeper and take a look at some of the differentiated features that we are providing. Let's start with the simulation piece. Detect vulnerabilities with real lures and templates for accurate risk assessment. What happens with real phish emails is that they are super context specific and targeted. They really emulate what your employee would face out in the wild. And that then allows you to train your employees on the most up-to-date active threats. And what's more, this whole process, simulation creation, payload attachment, user targeting, schedule, cleanup, all of this is automated end to end. And finally, you're really able to tailor these simulations to all of these different contexts for your employees, regions, industries, functions, and apply some granular conditionality there as well. Next, let's take a look at how you can really think through remediation strategically. So if the detection piece of the simulation piece really allows you to form a big picture of risk across your employees in your organization, what the insights allow you to do is really think through prioritizing and remediating. So we have come up with a set of metrics to help you do that. The first one, completeness and coverage metrics, really helps you gain visibility over your organization's simulation coverage and training completion. The training effectiveness metric helps you measure behavioral impact through the concept of this baseline rate that we create for you called the predicted compromise rate. And you can track your organization's progress against that. You can group users and trigger automated repeat offender simulations and training using something called the user susceptibility metric, which will be available in a later release, as well as add context to simulation results by correlating how people are behaving in a simulation with what trainings they're receiving and their susceptibility scores. So program quality should really be measured by behavioral impact. How did my users really perform? And how many did I convert from not bad behavior over time and keep them there? And then finally, getting into the actual remediation piece itself, Our integrated solution helps you reinforce your human firewall with hyper targeted training designed to change employee behavior. Terranova Security has a huge library of content that enables really tailored training to very specific employee contexts. It's super accessible to the highest standards and is available in 12 plus languages. Lise Lapointe, the CEO, will dive deeper into it towards the end of this presentation. All right, now let's actually show you what this looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and demo how to create a simulation and some of the reporting as well before handing it over to Lise Lapointe, CEO of Terranova Security and author of the book, The Human Fix to Human Risk.
All right, now let's get you a view at the actual product itself. So what you see here is the preview dashboard for attack simulation training, and we are clicked into the simulations tab that gives you an overview of all of the simulations being run in your organization. So for example, in a quick view here, you can see these tiles that show you how many simulations are being drafted or are in draft state, how many are scheduled to run soon, how many are currently in progress, and then how many are completed as well. So what we're going to do now is just go through what it will look like to launch a simulation. So I'm going to go ahead and click on launch a simulation, which goes ahead and opens this wizard workflow, which really automates almost every step of simulation creation and management. All right, to start with, we want to pick a technique. So I'm going to go ahead and hit credential harvesting. We've been seeing that come through a lot, and it's a very common technique that attackers use all the time. So we go ahead and hit credential harvest, and then you want to name your simulation. So I am going to name this Ignite Test 1. And then we're going to describe it. So since this is for the purposes of this test, I'm going to say test simulation for Ignite demo. I'm going to go ahead to the next screen. And this is sort of the meat of the simulation creation. It allows you to go ahead and select a payload for the simulation technique. You can either create or collect your own payloads to add to this list. So that would be if you were to hit plus here and create a payload, or you can pick from the payloads that we have already harvested for you using an automated payload harvester, which will be available very soon. Note that if you do create a new payload, you will be redirected to a separate wizard workflow that helps you create that payload. So let's go ahead and just pick a pre-created one for now. So let's see. I'm going to pick direct deposit to Wells Fargo and then hit next. All right. So now we want to go ahead and target users. So we make this very, very simple. It's entirely integrated with your AAD identity infrastructure, and you can add in any groups or users from there with just a simple click of a button. So you go ahead and click add users, and here, any user or group that you have in your AAD, you can add. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see. A test group, we do. Contoso has a test group configured in their identity infra. So we're going to go ahead with this and hit add. And that's it. That's all you have to do. You don't really need to filter anything out. We make sure that the DLs have already been filtered out of this and that it isn't going to anyone that's not an actual person on the receiving end. Go ahead and hit next. And this is our screen that helps you to assign training. So we really recommend you let Microsoft assign the training courses. As I've mentioned earlier, an important thing that we heard was a challenge for a lot of security teams was really understanding which kinds of training to use with which kinds of simulations. And we were able to use a lot of our experience as well as work with Terranova Security to tailor simulations and trainings to each other. And so if you let us assign the training courses, we will pick them based on both a user-specific previous simulation result, as well as I mentioned, our overall learning pathways that we created from our intelligence as well as Terranova Securities. And you can also review these selections, of course, in the next step. Then you'll get to select a training due date. So this will be the number of days after a person is assigned the training that they have to complete it. So you can say 7, 15, or 30. I'm going to go with 15 for this one. And then you get to preview the landing page that your end user actually sees and customize it in your brand and voice. So This is the one that we start out with from Microsoft. I'll just show you what it looks like with preview. It says, hey, user, you were just phished. It's okay. You're a human. Let's learn from this. It has a very encouraging tone in order to combat the punitiveness that was a challenge that we heard from a lot of end users. And then if once you had learned what you missed, what it will do is actually point out the phishing indicators that the user missed within the email payload that was sent. All right, clicking out of this preview, you can go ahead and make sure that you are launching the simulation at a time that you want to. So you can either launch it as soon as you're completed with this wizard workflow, or you can schedule for it to be launched at a later date. So let's say I'm going to pick the 16th of September, and we're going to go with 9:05 a.m. And then you can enable region-aware time zone delivery. So everybody will get it at 9:05 a.m. their time. And then, of course, you can select when to end this simulation. So if you want to end it immediately, right after you send it out, that's a possibility in 2 days as well as in 7 days. I'm going to hit 7 days for now. And then just go ahead and review. So you currently have it scheduled to launch on 16 September. This is your technique, your name, description, as well as what the payload was that you actually assigned to it. All right, so you can either go ahead and save and close, in which case this will be a draft, or you can hit submit, which then makes it a live simulation ready to launch. Okay, so now you see that this has been scheduled for launch. You're all done. Everything here is green, and then you can just finish up. And once you go back here, we had Ignite Test 1. It has been added to the queue, and you will see that it is status scheduled. And this is just a simple wizard workflow to help you create a simulation, and then as well as the landing page and assign training to all of your users. It makes the whole process really simple, and we really try to help out as much as possible along the way. Hi, everyone. I'm now going to just dive into the reporting dashboard for attack simulation and training that we mentioned. So in here, you're looking at reporting for our attack simulation training preview product. And let's start with the first tab over here on the left called training efficacy. What training efficacy helps you measure is behavioral impact. What this means is it lets you see really how your user behavior is actually changing. Instead of just relying on coverage or completeness, which I'll dive into next, this actually helps you see behavior change. So as I mentioned previously, we have a predicted compromise rate per simulation based both on our intelligence about this simulation in general, as well as your company's simulations in the past. And then what we do is we allow you to see the difference between our predicted compromise rate, which in this case is represented by this red line, and your user's actual compromise rate in a simulation, which in this case, of course, is represented by the green line. The names of the simulations themselves are over here on the x-axis, so you can really take a quick look at which simulations your users outperformed, where they underperformed, etc. So you can really drill in per simulation over here. It shows you the simulation name, shows you what technique was used. So in this case, let's say it was credential harvesting. It shows you what we predicted your compromise rate should be versus what it actually was. In this particular case, it looks like the actual compromise rate was higher than our predicted. And so the assumption here, for example, would be that once you train your users, this actual compromise rate would go down to match and then go below the predicted compromise rate. Moving on to the next tab, this shows you user coverage in terms of simulation across your organization. So you get to see how many users you have simulated, how many are remaining in your organization that you have not simulated, and then also drill down per user, how many simulations they were included in, the date of their last simulation, the results of their last simulation, the total number of clicks across all simulations. So count of click is across all the different simulation they had. And then, of course, this over here is just the count of completed training as well, which helps you filter and arrange your users by this so that you can maybe send them some more training, maybe target a different set of simulations to those users, etc. So here you will see that this organization has 0 non-simulated users left. Contoso has gone ahead and simulated all of their 19,447 users. Training completion is a pretty similar metric. It focuses on training instead of simulation, but it gives you very similar coverage statistics across your organization. Let me just refresh this page. What you can see here is how many trainings were completed, how many are in progress, and how many are incomplete as well. So in this case, 125 trainings were assigned and are incomplete, 3 are in progress, and 0 have been completed. The status bar gives you a quick glance at that as well. Similarly, you can dig in by username and see what their last simulation result was, what training they were assigned, what date that was completed, as well as all of the trainings assigned to them. And so together, user coverage, training completion, and training efficacy really try to give you a good way to quantify social engineering risk and then prioritize which users, which departments, which groups to train, and on which kinds of lures and simulations.
Hi, thank you, Rukma, for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be here today to talk about phishing behaviors and security awareness training. Microsoft partnership with Terranova Security is very exciting because it offers Terranova the possibility to produce training related to real-world phishing seen by Microsoft. It also designed to be accessible, making training available to all users in more than 35 languages. When we design security awareness programs, it is important to follow a framework to create a learning path for the user. The learning activities must be effective and change behaviors. They must be interactive and interesting also. To achieve that, Terranova Security has identified 7 behaviors related to the 7 payloads that must be learned by your workforce to create cyber heroes. Without addressing these habits, the awareness program isn't providing employees the tools they need to keep sensitive data safe. Changing behaviors through adult learning approach requires high-quality content in a range of different formats that enables messaging repetition. Doing so will continually underscore the importance of acting or reacting in a certain way. If you look at the slide, phishing is a risk, you'll see that you have the 7 payloads identified by Microsoft. Attachment malware, link to malware file, link and attachment, etc. And for each payload, we have identified a behavior. For example, if you look at attachment malware, the behavior you don't want to have is a user opening malware attachments. So to measure that, you will send different templates. For example, invoice, payment past due. And if the person clicks on the link, you will give them just-in-time training such as phishing 6 clues. So for each payload, there's a behavior identified. You could choose a template and training that goes with it. When we look at the payload credential harvesting, it's one of the most important payloads. It is used a lot. It relates to the behavior of giving out user login information that allows cyber criminals to steal their data, impersonate users using their account, and gain access to confidential information for the organization, like networks. A good example of template is the unusual activity alert from Microsoft. The just-in-time training will talk about credential theft. Another example is the payload business email compromise that is also used a lot. It can be related to multiple behaviors, such as giving out corporate PII or financial info, or personal PII and personal financial info. This can include information like a personal email address, phone number, or account number. You also have the example of an email scam that targets high-level employees who send wire transfers to partners. So depending on the type of behavior you want to address, you can choose training modules that reflect the situation you want to measure. The training will also be related to the template used, such as employee privacy breach, money loss, identity theft, and fraud. At Terranova Security, we recommend using communication tools during the duration of the campaign. You can launch your campaign with a poster or a banner to let the users know it's coming. Then you can start with a general module on phishing for baseline knowledge. This is followed by a monthly microlearning on a specific risk. It will teach your users how to recognize the risk, understand the consequences, and learn the best practices to apply. You can also send a newsletter on the same topic during the campaign. Users learn in different ways. The next step is to send a phishing simulation related to the microlearning topic. It's important to measure if your users understood the training and incorporate the best practices in their behavior. For the users that click, they will receive additional training to reinforce the message, a nano learning, or just-in-time training. You can also use a microlearning as a first just-in-time training. If the user fails another phishing simulation, you can reinforce with a nano learning. So there's different possibilities in your learning path. Keep in mind that it isn't a one-time event. For effective security awareness training to result in lasting behavior change, campaigns should be run on an ongoing basis. Hope this information was helpful, helped you prepare your security awareness program and train cyber heroes. Now back to Rukma as she will discuss how attack simulation training in tandem with Microsoft other tools help our customers maximize their security posture. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. So we just spent some time diving into user behavior and phishing as a potential point of entry for attackers. But of course, it's not the only one. Some other common threat vectors include devices, web applications, remote access portals, and the network itself. If you think in terms of impact, the security impact of an untrained user can be analogous to that of an unpatched vulnerability on a device or even a misconfigured security tool. Essentially, you're leaving chinks in your defenses through which attackers can initiate access. In cybersecurity, the maxim is the best attack is the one that never gets a chance to start. So in addition to attack simulation training, Microsoft Security has a number of other tools that enables you to gain visibility. Microsoft Secure Score gives you single pane of glass visibility across identities, data, devices, and apps. It helps you answer the question, how secure am I? And what can I do next to make my org more secure? It brings together the breadth of Microsoft Security products and the rich depth of the underlying controls in this single pane of glass view, recommending improvement actions based on criticality, severity, and risk. Just as you use attack simulation training to reinforce the human firewall, Microsoft Secure Score enables you to maximize security posture for your entire digital estate. So let's get started. Check out your Microsoft Secure Score today to detect, prioritize, and remediate your top security risks across your digital estate. You can go to aka.ms/msecurescore to check it out. Thank you for attending my chat, and I hope you really enjoy the rest of your Ignite 2020.